come on and talk about the latest news, as well as listener call-ins.
Give us a call. Join us every Monday through Thursday at 9 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube, and on KSJE every afternoon at 5:06. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, here for you, providing safe, quality care. Stay informed on the COVID-19 developments to protect yourself and your loved ones at sanjuanregional.com or the COVID-19 information line at 505-516-0938 or 888-949-5387. San Juan Regional Medical Center, caring for the Four Corners since 1910. 11 minutes past 8 o'clock. It's Thursday morning, April 16th. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Micklin, and thank you for tuning in to KSJE. 90.9 FM over the air here in San Juan County, 103.3 FM over the air in Durango, Colorado, and streaming everywhere from our website at ksje.com. Good morning also to our viewers who are watching this visual radio program, streaming live to the KSJE Facebook page and YouTube channel. We are glad that you're with us this morning, everybody. Coming up in the next few moments, that's coming up at 9 o'clock, actually, but let me show you what's coming up first, because my guests here from San Juan County, talking about the San Juan County Communications Authority. Devin Neeley is standing by, also Crystal Arellano from the Communications Authority. We hope you'll stay tuned for our conversation, which begins in the next few moments right here on KSJE. Then, next hour at 9 a.m., I'll be joined by Megan Cullip, and we'll be hosting our local COVID-19 local information program. We have a lot of things lined up on the program today, including conversations with 3 doctors from San Juan Regional Medical Center. We'll talk a little bit about how some of the local maker spaces are helping with some important personal protective equipment for the hospital. And we'll also be speaking with Congressman Ben Ray Lujan coming up this morning on that program about the next wave of stimulus help for local businesses and residents across the country. That is coming up this morning at 9 a.m. right here on KSJE. On the radio side, Mick Hess will be playing classical music, of course, Roving with the Arts at 9:06, and Mick is playing music from Ives during the show today. 3 places in New England. You'll hear that coming up this morning at 9:06 on KSJE. We'll rebroadcast our COVID-19 program today at 5:06 p.m. for our radio listeners. And don't forget, of course, in addition to Facebook and YouTube, you can check us out on Twitter and connect with KSJE on Instagram as well. Our weather forecast is going to be mostly sunny this morning, becoming partly sunny this afternoon with some increasing winds. Today's high 65 in Farmington. Partly cloudy skies overnight with a low of 36. It'll be mostly sunny on Friday tomorrow with a high again near 65 degrees. On Saturday, a chance of scattered showers, the high 63. Sunshine on Sunday, 66 for a high, near 70 on Monday. Another chance of showers on Tuesday with a high of 68 degrees. Let me turn to my guests who are here with me this morning, as I mentioned, from the San Juan County Communications Authority. Crystal Arellano is here, the relatively new operations manager. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you for being here. Devin Neeley is back with us, of course, a public relations manager for San Juan County. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Scott. Thanks for having us.
You bet. Welcome back. Good to have both of you here to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on in San Juan County and with the Communications Authority this week. And this is actually a great week for you to be here, Crystal Arellano, because it is Telecommunicators Week, correct?
Yes, it sure is.
Congratulations. And tell us what that means. It's really a week set aside to honor our dispatchers?
Absolutely. Telecommunicator Week, including the entire country, just celebrating the work we do and getting the word out there.
Very nice. And often you're kind of some of those behind-the-scenes folks that we don't always think about when we think about the first responders and people that are helping when we have emergencies and things like that. And me as a reporter who used to call the dispatch center all the time to bother you people when you were in the middle of stuff, really appreciated all of the information that I would get, or at least some information that I could get it confirmed.
Yeah, that was our favorite calls.
I bet, from the press, right?
Yes.
You love those calls, exactly. But you guys are really on the front lines when people are calling 911 to report an emergency or get help. You guys have to figure all those calls out.
Absolutely. We're there to pass the information along to the officers, first responders, paramedics, and the information they receive is only as good as what our public is offering us. So
Right.
very important.
There's all that, exactly. And so it looks like the local departments have been making some videos to honor you and your colleagues during Telecommunicators Week.
Yeah, it's great to see all the support from all our user agencies.
That's
Been
wonderful.
Really impressed.
That's terrific. Well, I want to play one. We'll start by
Yeah.
playing one, and this is I think it's one of the fire departments, right? Devin, Neeley.
San Juan County Fire Department Chief John Moeller.
That's right.
Kicks us off, I believe.
All right, let's see if I can push the right button here and get it to play. Let's try it. Here we go, everybody.
In honor of Telecommunicators Week, San Juan County Fire Department is putting this gold tape on some of our trucks for the gold and blue that holds together. You ready? Thank you for all you do.
It's Telecommunicators Week. Thank you to the Golden Group.
That holds together the red and blue.
We appreciate all that you do. Happy Dispatch Day.
Nice thank you from Facebook and the San Juan County Fire Department. My guest this morning from San Juan County and the San Juan County Communications Authority, Crystal Arellano, is here, and Devin Neeley. And so that's kind of nice to see when they do stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the outpour of support we've got this past week has been pretty amazing, to say the least.
Right. And Devin Neeley, I know this is an important part of San Juan County to have the Consolidated Communications Authority. I know it's been held up as a model around the state because we have all the local entities that are working through the Communications Authority, so we don't have to have a dispatcher for Farmington Police and Bloomfield Police and Aztec Police and this fire department and things like that. I mean, it really does, I think, help when you're trying to coordinate responses to emergencies.
Yeah, absolutely. You're exactly correct. The dispatch center is a model for around the state and around the country for how it's done and how it's done well. All of the agencies work together really closely. This streamlines the flow of information between agencies in instances where that information flow is so vital. And we're seeing even, and I think you're probably going to get to this in a minute, Scott, but we see how important our dispatchers are when they're asking, playing 20 questions with a 911 caller, so that our first responders know what they're getting into when they're headed out on a call. We had some first responders that were exposed to the coronavirus this last week, and the dispatch center is asking those questions so that our folks can wear the proper level of PPE and protect themselves and continue to protect the community.
Right. And Crystal, let me ask you about those things, because I imagine, of course, when people are calling 911, they're not having their best day.
Absolutely.
And they're stressed and there's stuff going on, and so they probably just want to get help coming, and then when your dispatchers start asking questions, that's maybe frustrating for the caller, not understanding the reasons why you're asking those questions. And you do have reasons that you're asking, correct, of what Devin was saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And we understand that it's frustrating, but it's actually to aid them. The more information we can get that helps us to send the right responders to them, as well as protecting our first responders at the same time. So
right,
it's frustrating.
And you're trying to determine actually more of what's going on, or what's the situation. Is it a traffic accident? Is it a car crash? Is it someone having chest pains? Is it just something completely different? Who knows, right?
Yeah.
You get calls for everything.
Absolutely.
And I mean everything.
Everything, yes.
Right?
We ask scripted questions, so we're all very trained in the protocol. It's called emergency medical dispatching or emergency fire dispatching. So there's specific questions that we have to ask just in order to better help the citizens while they wait for the responders to get there. So they feel like it kind of takes a little bit of time from us talking to them to the responders starting, but no, as soon as we start asking questions, they're on the way. We're just working on getting the best information we can.
I kind of liken it to a choose-your-own-adventure novel.
All right, Devin.
You can.
I'll let you go with that.
As the questions are asked, the
Right.
different levels of response are triggered. Different agencies are triggered, and that's how they get the help to the folks that need it.
Interesting. And so, Crystal, as you're talking to somebody on the phone, you can also be dispatching the whatever units need to be for that particular call. That's how your system works.
Yes, that is how it works. And maybe I'm talking to the caller, but my partner is dispatching the call. It kind of just depends on what call is actually happening. So we've always got help started while we're doing the questioning.
Right. And so how many, I know it probably changes from shift to shift, but how many dispatchers at any given time are working over there at the communications center?
Generally, we have 5 dispatchers on duty and then 2 call takers. So they're solely there to answer the phones. Of course, we get more than 2 calls at a time, so our dispatchers are answering the phones as well.
Got you. That makes a lot of sense. And so and of course you're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't take holidays off. And
no holidays, no lunches.
Right. It is
We're there to work.
That's it. And so that's what happens. And so it's important then that folks understand when they're calling 911 to, again, be prepared to answer some of those questions if they can. Now, if someone is incapacitated, you can get some information just from the call, right?
Absolutely.
And that
just the
can
call
at least
or
get
the background noise or anything else. We're listening to absolutely everything.
You're trained to do all that, right?
Yeah.
And to try to interpret what's going on if the caller can't speak.
Yeah, exactly. We so much better if they call and they can't speak, if they just leave an open line. All that background noise is huge for us, so we could tell a lot what's going on.
That can give you some clues, right? I suppose. And then, of course, you can get the location, usually, from the call and things like that, too.
Yeah,
these
so
days.
The way we start a call is by asking the location, and then we ask them to repeat it. The reason we do that is because in a state of emergency for that person, maybe they don't remember that, they're not at their house, maybe they're at their grandmother's house. So we always ask them to repeat the location just to make sure it's right. And then we also use wireless data, and that's kind of what you're referring to.
Right, that triangulation or
Yeah,
whatever of a cell
exactly.
phone or what have you.
Yeah.
So, see. Look at
Good
that.
job.
I don't know where that word came from, but it was up there
was
somewhere.
right.
So there you are. But yeah, and so and that's been a big advance over the last few years. And I mean, I can remember before we had that, and you
Right.
would need to know your location. And if you didn't know, you were kind of stuck, and you
Yeah.
could say, "Well, I'm on a road
Exactly.
near a tree," and that doesn't really help the dispatchers to send out crews to where I am.
Yeah, we still really rely on them knowing where they're at. Of course, the phase 2 triangulation is just a tool that we can use. But I started in 2006, and I think it came about right before me. So
Okay.
I don't know any different as far as not having it.
Understood.
I appreciate that.
No kidding. That's true. Very, very important.
Yeah.
And Devin, this is important to get folks out in a timely manner to get to emergencies and responding and things like that.
Yep, exactly. 5,500 square miles in the county.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different agencies that serve those specific areas. And, we don't necessarily want folks that are serving the Kirtland area dispatched to a call on South 550. There may be an instance when they have to start running that direction, but we need to know where you are so that we can send the appropriate agencies and we can send the appropriate response. We don't want to send an ambulance to a structure fire, and we don't want to send a fire truck to a burglary. These are very important questions, and that's exactly what they do. Man, I couldn't do it. I'm not going to dispatch. That's
Right.
not me.
Well, maybe not. But you need some training, and you get training. How much training does a dispatcher have to go through, Crystal, before they're allowed on the floor?
So our training usually lasts between 9 and 11 months. That's basically from day one to where they're considered on their own completely. We get them working the,
That's a
the
long
radio.
time.
Yeah, it's a really long time.
And a big investment, I think, for the individual and the communications authority.
Yeah, absolutely. We put a lot of time and money and everything else into them. So.
Right. And so take us through a little bit of that training then. Is it kind of a little, it's a lot of on-the-job type stuff, or monitoring the calls, or just seeing how fast and quickly they're coming in at certain times?
Yeah, absolutely. So call taking is obviously the foundation of everything we do. If we're not answering phones, we're not there. So we start everybody off as a call taker. 3 weeks of classroom time, and then we just get them out there on the job stuff and getting them to start answering calls. We kind of do like a see, hear, do sort of training model where we show them how to do it, we let them do it, stuff like that. So
Okay.
it's really in depth. They have to get a lot of certifications in the first year. They have to be certified by the state of New Mexico. They have to be CPR certified, all that good stuff. So.
Right. And, of course, having the Consolidated Communications Center, they have to then know when a call is coming in. I guess some of the computerized programs can maybe help to suggest what the best dispatch should be for that type of call or that location in the county? Is it Bloomfield? Is it Aztec? Is it Kirtland?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all based on the address. So most of that's done in the background for us. The computer program is called Computer Aided Dispatch. So that's our CAD program. So it does most of the work for us, but yeah, we still need to be paying attention to make sure that the address on West Broadway really is in Farmington as opposed to West Broadway in Bloomfield.
Right. Completely different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Part of the county, that's for sure. And so talk to me a little bit about the questions that you're asking. And Devin mentioned it before that we did have a couple of first responders, actually I think 4, fire department and sheriff's deputies that were potentially exposed to coronavirus, and now they are in quarantine. And so you all are changing a little bit of your policies of what the questions you're asking then before you send out folks to a call?
Yes, and we're doing this all around for police, fire, medical calls now. So we're starting out the conversation just asking symptoms, basically. We want to know if they have a fever. We want to know if they don't have a thermometer, we can just call it hot to the touch in a
that can tell you
regular
something.
Environment, absolutely. Chills, a cough, any sort of respiratory problems. So we're asking all those specifically. Do you have a fever? Do you have the chills? And then we've actually just added in the past couple of days due to this first responders getting quarantined, we're basically point blank asking them, have you tested positive for COVID? And if so, when? So hopefully it helps. Again, information is only as good as what we're able to pull out of people. But
sure. But again, and I guess the word is going out to all the first responders to also be careful and to be prepared for maybe if they have to interact with some of these potential patients.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that as far as the police departments go, they're kind of pulling back a little bit, trying to handle more things over the telephone, which makes sense. But yeah, they're still all responding to scenes. So we're asking these questions, and then they have it's called a mobile data computer. They can see it all in their car as they're driving to it. And we're also letting them know over the radio.
Those screens, right? Pops it up. So
yeah, and this isn't slowing the responses down or changing. You know, if you still need police help or medical help, they're still going. They just get to prepare themselves on the way so they know what they need to be doing.
Right. And with doing that, Devin, Neeley, that brings up the question of PPE, that personal protective equipment, and we've heard about shortages and concerns. I would assume then all of the county's folks and fire departments and have the necessary equipment that they need then to respond to these cases if they need to be all protected?
Correct. Originally, our policy was put in place to kind of conserve PPE, and we were only gearing up fully if we got the word from dispatch that the patient was positive or possibly positive or had some symptoms. We've changed that policy, and now there are differing levels of PPE that our responders will be wearing as they roll up to these calls, again dictated by the dispatch and what the answers to these questions are when you call 911.
Right, and I would assume that maybe because there's still a shortage in some areas for PPE that you just can't suit up all the way for every call. It just doesn't make sense with trying to keep some of these things for the more serious responses.
So the supply chain is stabilizing. I wouldn't say the supply chain for PPE is stabilized, but it is stabilizing. It's in the process of
getting better.
It is getting a lot better.
Good to hear.
But it's still wise to conserve where we can, and you know, we're not going to be able to reuse a lot of this PPE. We're not going to be able to go down that road, and so in the interest of making sure we have it when we need it, we're being a little bit more judicious with the use of PPE, day to day. In the hospital, maybe they can wear a mask for an hour at a time, but one call at a time, and I don't even know call volumes, but our call volumes are pretty large, and so to conserve that PPE, there's first responders will be wearing PPE at every call, and then if it's an enhanced call from the dispatch center, that PPE level will increase.
Sure, that makes sense to me. So. Thank you.
Yeah.
And good to know.
The other thing that I wanted to touch on, that it's really important, that sometimes the dispatchers may not even have to ask if you register for Smart 911, and I'm going to let Crystal get into that. I don't know if you were leading that direction.
We're getting there, but that's really important because that is another service that our dispatch center and communications authority offers to residents to be able to register and be part of this Smart 911 system. So Crystal, explain what that's all about to us.
So Smart 911 is a software program. You can access it on all your mobile phones as well as on the and on your computers. It's an application that you sign up for. It's free to you. The Communication Authority takes care of all of that. You can provide, the more information that you provide on your profile is what it is, the better. So you can, you're going to add your name, your address, your telephone number. We want the name of all your kids. You can add your dogs, cats, pictures of everybody.
Okay. Now, some people may be wondering, why do you need all that information about me, or why do you want to know about my dog and my cat, Crystal Arellano?
So all of that information helps us. So you call 911 after you've registered a profile, and that's going to show up on our side. We're going to be able to see what your dog's name is, what your cat's name is.
So I'd assume if my house is on fire,
yes,
and
God forbid your house catches on fire.
everybody's out, all the humans are out, but my dog and cat are not out.
Right.
Potentially, since you know I have a dog and a cat, and maybe I'm not home to tell you.
Absolutely.
The fire folks can maybe try to locate those animals.
Correct. Yeah, and that's exactly what it's for. It's great. Maybe you have a child that likes to wander off. If we've got that picture, we can push that all out to officers right away as opposed to waiting to get contact. So
Right.
The more information, the better, and it can help us assist you.
And I've heard a little bit too, maybe for folks that maybe children that maybe don't communicate well or don't have good communication skills, and they maybe have a hiding spot in the house, and maybe there's something they need to get everybody out of the house. Having that information on there to tell them where to look, so they're not searching through the entire house, but maybe a certain room or closet or whatever.
Yeah,
that could be helpful too, right?
Yeah, that's actually why we decided to purchase this program. Is we heard a story about a lady had called 911 because her house was on fire. She got the address out and then she fainted. They had a 911 profile, and the 911 profile said that her son, when he got scared, he liked to hide in this closet upstairs in this room. Firefighters got on scene. They were able to go to that room, got the son out of the closet. Who knows what would have happened if she didn't have that smart 911 profile.
Right, or how much time would go by if they had to search the entire, every
absolutely.
closet in the house, or whatever, right? So, and I guess the other important thing, because folks are always concerned about privacy, and so this is a profile that you create, the individual, I would, and then it's only really visible when I call 911 from my address that kind of triggers that screen that would pop up, or you have access to that profile information, right? Other than that, it's locked down, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. So we can't see it unless you call 911 yourself. You have to update it every 6 months is the way the program works. But yeah, we have no access to it unless you call 911. I think it stays on our screens for about 30 minutes or so from the time you called, just so we can work through it. But the privacy, all the privacy settings are there so that we're not just looking at your profiles.
Right. And that's an important part of this too, and so that's great. And so I imagine that it's been helpful in some of the calls. I know you can't talk about individual calls necessarily, but those are the types of things that it helps with.
Yeah, I can say we get a couple calls every once in a while where it's just an open line, which we've kind of talked about before.
Right.
The person on the other end, maybe they can't communicate, they can't speak. You can actually text us from that app as well. So instances like that really, really help.
Interesting. And Devin, Neeley, again, this is, at the forefront of a lot of what dispatch centers are being able to do. We have it here for our residents throughout the county, pretty much, right?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you what, I've got a smart 911 profile for my grandmother. For elderly folks that may live alone, if they have to call 911, you can set certain people as contacts. They can get notifications if that person calls 911, and I've got it set up for my grandma. And there's a list of her medications and a list of, a description of her, and some medical conditions too. And so I feel a lot safer knowing that the first responders would have that information for my grandma if she had to call 911. That, along with our dispatch center, is second to none. They're really on the cutting edge, and this smart 911 system is a fabulous addition to what they're doing over there. And additionally, the smart 911 profile is now asking questions about COVID-19, and so if you update your profile, it's going to ask you those questions right now, and then the dispatchers will have access to that as well.
Good to know. And again, this is through an app that we can do? Is there a website, or is it mostly through the app? Everything's app these days, I know.
It is smart911.com is where you can sign up for for the profile, but you can also download the app, which is just Smart 911.
Gotcha. And once you have it, as you said, it'll be available, and it will update every 6 months, or ask you to update it every 6 months. I assume it bugs you about that, so everything's up to date, and that's important. And that's a great point you made, Devin, Neeley, about for an elderly relative or family member to make sure that they're in there, because again, if they're needing to call, or they've got maybe an alert button that they press, that could also trigger, I would assume, some of this extra information. Correct?
You know, and I've before my grandma's called 911 before, and she's handed her phone to the paramedic and had them call me from the ambulance. And you know, maybe paramedics have other things that they need to do at the moment, but you know, the dispatchers have access to some contacts for family, and it's I think it's a really great system, and I'm glad that we have it in our
Even
area.
just making entry into a residence, if somebody's fallen, that key code or hidden key information, they can add that to the profile. So
Good to know, and peace of mind, I think, for
yeah,
grandsons and everybody
Absolutely.
else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
that's important. I want to ask you, Crystal Arellano, about the type of person that it takes to be a dispatcher, because I think a lot of folks maybe who don't come in contact with dispatchers, which is probably most people, don't realize that you're kind of that first call that people are making when they're having a bad day, or they're injured, or they're scared, or something's going on, and you guys have to stay calm and cool and collected to be able to really evaluate what's going on, to keep that caller on the line, or get the information out. I mean, all this is a part of your training, I know, but it's really a certain type of personality that does well in this job.
yeah, absolutely.
Not everybody could do it. We know
No.
Devin can't do it,
Right.
but not everybody could do it. Maybe with some training he could do it.
We'll try it out.
Yeah, but really is a really specific type of person.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got to take control of situations, so we have to be confident, just in general, somebody who's got a lot of confidence. And they have to be cool and calm in stressful situations, thrive in it almost, where, you know, stuff is hitting the fan, that this is their time to work really hard. So quick thinkers, they need to be able to make decisions, and know that the decisions they're making are sound. And even just interaction with the responders and stuff, just understanding the situations, and you know, officers and paramedics and stuff, they're all strong figures, so we've got to be able to kind of mimic that in a way so that we can handle it.
Right. And I'm sure it's got to be difficult for most of you, but that's what your training is for.
Absolutely.
To let you know that someone could be calling in and they are emotionally all over the place, and you are their one link to help and to calming them down maybe, and helping them get through whatever they're going through.
Yeah, absolutely. And our hiring process kind of showcases that. The very first time they come in, we do an orientation where we just explain to them what we do, but we also play a couple calls. And that's just because we want them to understand what they're potentially getting themselves into. If it's not something that they want to hear, then this isn't the job for them.
Right, and it can be really anything.
Yeah,
can it?
absolutely.
And I'm sure you've got stories
Yeah.
of some of the calls that you have taken and your colleagues have taken. And so we talked about the initial training. I imagine there's some ongoing training too. I mean, once you go through that 11 months or so, that's not it, is it?
No, we're always training. We've been a little short-handed lately, but usually we do at least 2-hour class a month on training.
Wow.
And it doesn't just end there. We're doing quizzes on different things. We've got to maintain 36 CUs to keep up our medical and fire protocol training. So just class after class, and of course the state requirements. So
Right. Oh, that's part of it too. You mentioned sometimes you're a little short-handed. Are you hiring these days?
we just closed our hiring cycle.
You did?
But we do
Okay.
anticipate opening it again, and you can follow us on our webpage, which is, I believe, SJ County 911, as well as our Facebook page. So we
To
are
be notified if
Absolutely.
this sounds like something that might fit
Yes,
for
absolutely.
you. But that's great. Well, I hope you get a lot of good new dispatchers out of this
We've got some
group, huh?
Good potential right now, so we're very excited.
Very good. Excellent. Well, we just have a couple of minutes remaining this morning. Devin, Neeley, I want to go back to you a little bit about San Juan County. And
Yeah,
I know
certainly.
a lot of county services continue.
That's correct. Yeah,
With all of this going on, I mean, we're all staying home. They're supposed to be staying home.
We do have a good percentage of our office workforce at the county that is working from home right now, as many places around the state and around the world are doing so right now. But all of our county services are still available. County buildings have been closed to the public, and you need to call ahead if there's something that you have to do in person. But many of our services can be taken care of over the phone, online, some things like that. And so we're really glad to have the resources to be able to do that, and we're doing the best we can to protect our folks and our public. And essential staff includes emergency management, so our emergency management staff is working night and day, pretty much 7 days a week, to make sure that the coordination is there for PPE for first responders, for any resources that are needed. You know, we've worked in collaboration with local nursing homes to make sure that they have the proper PPE that they need.
Right.
And we're constantly coordinating across a lot of different agencies to make sure that it's all where it needs to be.
And I know a lot of those emergency management folks are meeting quite regularly with others in the community. I think with folks from the college, folks from the hospital, folks from the school districts.
Correct.
I mean, those meetings are fairly regular, are they not?
Yeah, right now we're kind of down to weekly meetings. The situation has mostly stabilized. And should we need to ramp that back up again, we would go to more. But currently we're meeting weekly in different groups, and basically all remotely. You know, we're not all meeting in one big room. We're heeding the guidelines of the state and the CDC as well. But making sure that we have this coordination between all the different entities is so valuable. You know, we saw just last week that the college has donated a cache of PPE that was used for training and for students, and that's all gone to the college. And there's some resources here, to the hospital rather.
From the college.
From the college.
Yes, sir.
There's resources here at the college that are in use by the hospital and other agencies, and that sort of collaboration and relationship is really valuable.
Right. Well, that's why we live here, because this community is so giving and so willing to work together to overcome anything that really comes across. So that's important. Crystal, are you seeing any drop in calls to the 911 center if folks are supposed to be staying home? Hopefully that means they're not crashing into each other as much as they usually do when they're out on the roads.
Yeah, our call volume is actually down quite a bit. Still, the urgency is there, and the emergencies are always going to be there. But
well, when you have an emergency, you definitely want
Yeah.
to make sure there's a dispatcher to answer your call for sure.
But yeah, most people are staying home. We're
Good.
seeing a drop in calls.
That's good. Well, very good. Well, thank you for the work that you do, and for your colleagues. Please pass along our thanks to them as well. I know, again, it's sometimes a thankless job, but this week we get to thank you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Devin, Neeley, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
I will mention to our listeners and viewers that Devin and Crystal are going to be sticking around to be part of our next program when we talk specifically about coronavirus and COVID-19. So stay right where you are, you two, but thank you for being here. And I'll be back with that program in just a few moments here on KSJE. The time right now is 8:42. KSJE is supported by the University of Denver Graduate School of Social Work Four Corners program. They're proud to offer a Master's of Social Work degree in the Four Corners community. Applications for the 2020-2022 cohort is now open. Classes are taught Fridays and Saturdays in Durango, Colorado. Find out more at 970-247-9773 or at du.edu/socialwork/fourcorners.
Hello everyone, my name is Mick Hess, your host for Roving with the Arts here on KSJE 90.9. Please join me every weekday starting at 9 a.m. for the chance to hear full-length, unabridged opera, ballet, symphonic, and chamber music. I'll share news of local concert events that you may be interested in attending, background information about some of the greatest musical compositions ever written. Tune in weekdays 9 to 10 a.m. and Wednesdays